Hello, you're listening to the Neil Lamptey Show. My name's Joey, and this week I'm joined by Neil.
Hello.
And by Laurie.
All right, mate.
And as it's your first time, Imogen Dale, full name version. Hi, how's it going?
Thank you, Joey. Yes, it's going very well, thank you.
Lovely old job. Right, okay, the sky blue train continues unhalted. What were your moment of the week? I'm going to throw it to Neil first.
Naturally, this week it involves numbers, and that number is 7. 7 points clear, Joey. How has this happened? But also, we're going up.
Yeah.
I just can't quite believe how over the space of 2 weeks it's gone from it's looking quite good to we're gonna have to really mess this up not to go up this year because the numbers are all in our favour. So yeah, very pleased about that.
I can't believe still how many and I'm gonna use quite a stern phrase here, negative Nancy's poo-pooing our chances of going up still and saying things like, oh, there's still 10 games to go. It doesn't matter, we're going up.
Yeah, but also do the mathematics. Like Sunderland have to win 8 out of 9 games, and if they do that, we have to balls it up and only win 5. We're too good to only live. Come on, it's happening. Come on, everybody, just get on board.
Do you not think people do that because I almost think it's more fun to pretend that we're not going up, because then it will be really fun when we do go up.
I literally have no idea what.
Nah, that's. I'm not having that.
Yeah. Because if we start to enjoy now, the enjoyment will have just petered out by the time we go up a bit.
I've been thinking we were getting promoted for about 20 years. No, it will not dissipate. This is going to be brilliant.
Laurie, do you also still pretend that the floor is lava to make crossing the room more interesting?
Interesting stat about Sunderland, though. We've scored and conceded exactly the same number of goals as them.
Cool.
Yes. Yep.
You got any more stats?
Do you know what I've learned from that, Joey?
Go on, yeah.
It's very important when you score and when you concede, and in what order.
Imagine if the league was just one big match, one long 20,000-minute match, and then we wouldn't be as good, would we?
No, you're absolutely right.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, and if you think about all the times where we've won 1-0, if we had have just won one game 20-0, this whole points-wise
would have ruined it all.
Yeah, points-wise. I mean, that would have been a great day out, obviously, but in terms of the complexion of the season, it would turn on its head.
I'm glad I brought that up.
No, thank you. You're right. It brought too much perspective. Right, then, Laurie, you go.
So I've gone for something a little bit left field, because I think there's quite a few obvious things to pick from this week. But I think it's like the general, ignoring the massive fight that erupted amongst our fans, I think it's the general camaraderie within the fan base that I'm really enjoying. Like, I've been on a bit of a journey since I started supporting Cov, like going on my own, not really knowing anyone, to the point where I think I've told you about getting called a Tory so-and-so out the window by a Cov fan on the way to Oxford away. That same Cov fan embraced me at the end of the game on Saturday. We're now on first name terms. Admittedly, I'm calling him Wolf, which I don't think is his real name. But we hugged like brothers, and it's just an amazing place to be, the away end now, when we're just dispatching teams and everyone's just fighting rainbows about it. And I think that just marked like a really important moment for me, when people who previously hated me now hug me.
Do you think that it is genuinely that they don't hate you, or they're just so pissed on joy that they'll hug anyone?
That is probably also a contributing factor.
I can only assume that anyone that has hugged you hasn't heard you talk, because my immediate predisposition to disliking really posh people, and you know that I love you like a brother, but even when you're describing the camaraderie of the away end there, Laurie, it does make me want to punch all of your teeth out. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, noted.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, luckily I don't have to listen to myself.
No, that's true. And I think all the people turning off would agree with that sentiment. Imogen, your moment of the week, please.
I think it was getting Accrington tickets. I don't think I've ever been nervous that I wouldn't get an away ticket. And the fact that people are clamouring, fighting over themselves, to go to places like Lincoln and Accrington and wondering how many tickets we're going to get for Blackpool. This is unprecedented. We're in foreign territory, and I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, Accrington especially as well. Has anyone else been to Accrington?
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's the same every season. I've been there once, but they had a big kind of open, expansive ground, and then a big bus serving beers outside, and it just made for a lovely away day setting. And I'm really looking forward to the weather being ever so slightly better for it, and just having a great day out again. It's another one where I believe that we're taking considerably more than they'll have home fans as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we've asked for near 2,000, something like that.
Yeah. I think the ground only holds about 800, so it should be really good.
There's such a small club that I think the chairman, doesn't he post his spreadsheet of the takings after every game, like in shillings and pence?
Andy Holt, he's very, very local on Twitter.
Yeah, he's very open, isn't he? I am going to go for, nebulous as the idea of a moment is as usual. For me, the moment this week is just going to generally be Carl McFadzean, I think, because I can't remember a player who I was so ready to burn at a stake turn around so miraculously over the course of 6 months or so. Is just recently he's gone. I think this bar one Cruyff turn right towards the end of the game on Saturday, where I did a full poo in my pants. He's lost a bit of that whiff of disaster, hasn't he? And has instead sort of increasingly looked like a big rock that's a sort of fitting sort of partner for Hyam and Rose. I just thought he was excellent again on Saturday, but probably for a greater in-depth version of what that looked like. Laurie, you're going to start us off, aren't you? We're going to two-hand the Ipswich game, aren't you? Because both of you are there, and you're going to do one half each, I believe. So, Laurie, you kick us off.
Yeah, and he's not just a colossal mountain. He's actually a beast. Like, did you see the way he celebrated our goal? He kind of picked up Liam Walsh like he was a rag doll and just rattled him against the air. And I think Liam Walsh actually regretted the assist after that, in treating him like he's a piece of prey. But yeah, he's a good lad. So Ipswich away, it was a new one for me, which is quite nice to add another one to the list. I didn't really support us back when we were playing Ipswich, so got the real replacement. It's a semi-nice place full of normal-looking individuals, and yeah, really nice ground. I mean, they get like almost 20,000, so you kind of felt you were at like a real football match where you could kind of mingle amongst fans, not just kind of check whether people were just going to the newsagent or the stadium, which is normally what happens. And yeah, we filled out that away end. I think we had like 1,900 in there. It was nice and loud. Ipswich were like, I spent most of the pre-match reading the East Anglia Gazette from cover to cover, which was absolutely jam-packed full of terror and fear of us, which I don't think I've ever seen before. Not like I read the local papers very religiously, but they were absolutely quivering. I was like, this is unbelievable. I'm going to frame this. Which is great. I even went to the lengths today of watching like Ipswich groundhopper videos of just people like cacking themselves outside the stadium, watching like the Harlem Globetrotters, aka Coventry, roll into town. They're really getting carried away with how good we are. I was like, we're just a attritional side that wins games 1-0, guys. There's no need to be scared. But to be honest, we started okay, but they had quite a lot of chances at the beginning. They weren't quite as hopeless as I was hoping for. They had a really decent penalty appeal early on. But in amongst that, we did have control of possession. We were keeping the ball. It was quite a good surface. And we just kept going long to Godden. We seemed to have this idea that we were going to slot him in over the top and he was going to be able to pop one away on his own, which wasn't really happening. And we also started showboating a bit. Morosi, talking about Cruyff turns, do you remember his Cruyff turn in the 6-yard box?
No.
It was quite early on in the game.
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Spicy. And I started to think maybe this lot are believing their own smoke, especially when Walsh had the ball down on the byline, 2 people closing him down, and just backed himself to skin both of them, and he did.
And he did, yeah.
He is. I think my opinion of him in the last 2 or 3 games has gone from about a 7.5 out of 10 to like a 20 out of 10. He's just absolutely unbelievable. I think, not to quote Michael Doyle, but he is such a good player. And yeah, I'm in love with him, but not so much as the person I was watching the game with, who just is now got his Walsh spectacles on. So anything Walsh does is unbelievable, regardless of whether it's good or bad. But he is very good. And then we scored. So we famously love an early goal these days. So 15 minutes or whenever it was is actually quite late for us. Liam Walsh picks up the ball in the centre of the park. He ignores the run of O'Hare on the diagonal and plays it into Gordon's feet, who's like already on the turn. And so he's kind of spinning and takes this really perfect touch with his left foot, seems to kind of confuse both the defenders that are near him. And we're kind of right behind it from where we were in the away end. And I just 1,000,000% knew he was going to tuck it away. I know it's easy to say when he does tuck it away, but though that's his perfect chance, it's like in the box, he's got a bit of time. He doesn't have to like run fast, which obviously he can't do. And he just tucked it beyond the keeper, and cue pandemonium. It was great. And we were like, well, we don't really lose anymore when we go 1-0 up. So that's a pretty good start.
Can we just go a little overboard on how good that goal was in terms of his swivel? I mean, I said, can we go a little overboard? And I'm definitely going to do that. So that was top class. And it seems very similar to the goal that he scored the other day, where it's just him having pure sort of instinct now. He's got his instinct back in the box, and to kind of have the wherewithal to actually make that turn and actually the ability to do it. And then, like you say, you knew he was going to put it away. He's just in that vein of form at the moment. Yeah, I've watched that goal countless times, and it's a shame Paul's not on the pod, so I could kind of just let him know just how good I thought that goal was and how good Matt Godden has been recently. But yeah, that was superb.
Yeah, I think they underplayed it actually on the write-up on the website. Suggested that he had a lot of time to do what he did. And I think he made that time for himself. But you watch it, when we were watching it live, I thought he sort of almost scuffed it. But you watch it again and he creates that space for himself.
Yeah.
It's delightful.
What was really good about it as well, I like, similar to what Laurie just said, like, if you look back at the opposition, like when they're recounting the goal and you see just how many of them, like, that goal was a little bit above this level, that was pretty good. Nobody's saying, kind of a few whinging about defending like you do, but most people were just saying, okay, yeah, that is decent.
I love that. Praise from opposition is just the best.
It's more interesting, isn't it? Just search for Godden on Twitter and you will see just a stream of people saying, oh, why haven't we signed Godden? And you just think, well, 3 games ago, nobody had even heard of him. So that's probably why you haven't signed Godden. It's fine.
I listened to the Totally Football show this morning, and they were talking about him on there. They said that they described him as I don't listen to the Totally Football League show, and they said that he was a favourite of theirs. And you kind of go, really? Is there not another striker in League One who scored 14 goals that doesn't really do a great... Like, obviously, if you score 14 goals, you don't need to do a great deal else. But he's not one that you'd imagine the opposition fans would pick out and be like, there's this guy who is pretty good. And by pretty good, I mean literally pretty good. Like, not amazing.
Literally on the BBC website. That's who he is. Like, yeah, if you take one cursory glance out of our homepage, there's 2 photos of this man. He scores all the time.
Sorry, Laurie, go
on. Yeah, well, it was a pretty good atmosphere after that, because suddenly everyone was just in like, we're going to win the league mode again. And we kind of, that gave us a bit of confidence. And now when you're watching us, it's just this novel experience where now you've been watching COD for so long and you're so used to people grumbling about when we do stuff wrong. Now when we do stuff wrong, there's like this different reaction. It's kind of like someone's been playing the triangle quite nicely, and then they just hit like a dustbin, and it's just like, oh, what was that? That's bizarre. That sounds a bit different to what I've been listening to for the last 10 minutes. So people don't really know to complain anymore. They're just like, just going to ignore that and pretend it didn't happen. So, but then enough of those dustbin hits happen, and you're like, oh wait, we're actually not playing that well. And there was quite a lot of misplaced passes and general, I don't know. We weren't being complacent, but some people having bad games. Like I thought Sam McCallum had maybe his worst game for us I've seen. Yeah. And to the point where I'm like, we're thrashing everyone. We're not thrashing, but we're winning every game. Just give Mason a run. Like McCallum looks like he needs just a couple of games out of the side. Like I don't think he's...
Or Giles.
It would be Giles, wouldn't it? Yeah, they'd have him in there instead, wouldn't they now? Which is a massive...
What is his position?
He plays McCallum's position.
Really?
Yeah.
He does, although if you were to believe anything else, apparently he can play anywhere. So he seems to be our attacking alternative of note. So you see, what can we do next season? I saw someone say, can he be our right-hand striker? Well, first of all, we don't play a right-hand striker, but also I don't believe he plays a position at all. But yeah, that's we've just got this view of him as this attacking player, haven't we?
I don't know what's wrong with Brandon Mason. Like Laurie, I know that we've argued about this, but why would Mason was unlucky to lose his place? Although you could see why McCallum came in, because you could argue that McCallum was arguably better suited to the attacking elements of that five at the back. But if we're now saying that McCallum's form has dropped off, imagine if you were Mason and be like, right, time to take my chance there. They'd be like, oh no, we've got this kid from Wolves. You know what? What happened?
But I reckon you could even argue, and I don't necessarily believe this, but I'm just going to give it a go anyway, is like maybe the McCallum story is like a pretty major contributor in why we are where we are this season, because Robbins had the confidence to play this formation because he had a player like McCallum, whereas Mason, he's a left back, he's not a left wing back. No one can debate that, surely. And because we have Dabo, because we have McCallum, that's why we're playing 5-3-2. And I reckon this formation is why we're top of the league. I don't think it's because we have the best players in the league. I think we have the best system in the league.
Yeah.
I agree with the outcome. I think the reason we're playing it is because we've got Walsh, Hyam and McFadden as a back three more than that left back situation. I think we could have got away with Mason at left back. He was playing that well.
Or at the very least, for a player that is still, 22, and that is our contracted player, that he would at the very least be deserving of at least a couple of games to come in and show what he could do.
You'd think, wouldn't you?
It just seems a bit like I think what's going to end up happening is that we're going to sell him, or he's going to go off on a free somewhere, and they're going to be like, wow, this guy's amazing. And he'll be like, yeah, I know.
It's Jack Grimmer Mark II. That's what it is. It's like this guy does everything for us, plays as well as he possibly can, and then you're like, well, actually, this other guy, we're going to think he's better now, so let's play him for a bit. And McCallum's he's good, isn't he? Obviously.
Imogen, do you reckon Mason and Grimmer have like calls every week, and they're just like, "Mate,
it happened to me as well
last season. This is horrible."
Imogen, Mason, what would you think?
I think McCallum gives you more going forward. I liked Mason. I had no particular problem with him. I thought he was improving as games went on, but it pains me to say, I do agree with Laurie. I think that the width and the depth that it gives you having McCallum bombing forward when he's on his game is probably better than you can get with Mason. I wonder whether they were, before they sold him, trying to advertise him a little bit, but I can't really see that would be Robbins' style. I can't imagine that he would go in for something like that. I think he needs a rest. He looked tired towards the end of the second half. He was giving away a couple of really needless free kicks in what would have been dangerous positions if they had any form of attack whatsoever. And why not give him a bit of a break, bring in Mason, bring in Giles, do something a little bit different without breaking up the formation.
I think somewhere you've got Brandon Mason actually sitting at home, because he's definitely listened to this, being incredibly sad that you're talking to him about him in the past tense. I think he's got oh no, I'm still here, guys, come on.
Yeah, right, where were we on the first half anyway?
Where were we? Yeah, talking about our rare off notes. Yeah, so some of their chances were just stinking of bad confidence. Like the one where They basically lump it up from the right side of midfield. It was kind of like the Rochdale goal, where they were like, all right, nothing else is working. Let's just kick it directly at goal and see if anything comes of it. So they tried that, and it worked a charm. Just went over all of our defenders, and suddenly their ginger striker was just through. And Morosi comes out to kind of scare him, as Morosi does, kind of like at the Rochdale one, made himself big, and then realised, actually, I'm going to run back towards goal because I don't reckon this guy's got it in him to take it over me. And the guy is just completely baffled and just goes for this header. And you can see he's going for the header. He's like, this is a fucking waste of time. What? I've already ruined this. He can smell McFadzean coming behind him. So he's like, if I control it now, this guy's just going to eat me up anyway. And so he does this really sad nod into Morosi's probably smiling face, like, you idiot. And then the chance is gone. But that should have been a goal. Me and Imo just watched it about 5 times. And what was our conclusion? What should he have done, the striker?
Anything but what he did.
Yeah. I reckon if he just goes a side foot and tries to lob over him, that might have worked. But yeah, we got away with one there. And yeah, I think for the last 10 minutes, Ipswich looked pretty good. Like, it was quite nervy stuff. It wasn't really coming to much, but yeah, no one went into half time being like, we're absolutely dominating this. It's going to be 3 or 4. But yeah, and I don't think really you could pinpoint anyone who was having like a spectacular game. I think the defence were doing okay, but we weren't like absolutely resolute. Godden was doing his standard like invisibility cloak vibe, which is absolutely fine by me. Liam Walsh, yeah, was looking good, but I don't think I'd pinpoint anyone that's having like a particularly great game.
So then,
Morosi seems to get a lot of love for no reason.
It's hard not to love him, though, is he? You like his what? Sorry, what did I miss there?
He got a lot of love from the fans. I've never heard us really sing the Morosi song before, but suddenly everyone was going absolutely ballistic for him, like he'd saved the penalty, and just singing the song for minutes on end.
He is a top lad, isn't he?
He's great, yeah.
So, Imogen, second half.
Yeah, I mean, we went in at half time. As Laurie said, I didn't feel that we had dominated, but I felt fairly convinced that Lord Mark would have sorted it out and that there was nothing to worry about. Unfortunately, we started it largely in the same fashion, and it felt like they had found us out. I mean, we were, like Laurie said, we were watching the highlights back, and it is largely Ipswich. I think that's a pretty accurate summary of how it was. The one highlight, I guess, of the second half was Dabo's sublime cross. I'm sure you won't have seen it because it's barely been mentioned on any form of social media, but his pinpoint pass to Godden, which was an absolute delight.
Outrageous.
Listening, do you know what Oggy said about it? Well, he said 2 things. He said one, it was worth the admission fee alone.
Yeah.
And what was it, pass of the decade?
Pass
maybe
of
not
the
that
season,
much. But
maybe, or pass of he went really big on it. But it was only ever so slightly hyperbolic because it was really good, wasn't it? It had like full De Bruyne vibes to it, like just sort of out of nowhere, just on a plate to, it was magnificent, wasn't it?
I love what Dabo's also said, that there's more where that's come from as well. So
is that what he said, really?
Expect more of that. He said on Twitter, he's got more of those to come. So, I'm expecting that.
What are you waiting for, mate? What have you been holding that back for? Oh, I can do that all the time. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the whole ground was surprised. We just all did that. Has he just done that? And unfortunately, so was Godden because he completely skied it. We were watching it back. I don't know whether the number 4 should have got it or whether he thought that the number 4 was going to intercept it. I hope that was his excuse, because otherwise it was I don't know, it didn't give it the finish that it deserved. Or maybe Gordon just thought, well, I've done my part and
I've scored my 1 goal and we don't concede any. So
it's out of sight.
He's taking Laurie's thing from earlier very literally, and he knows already how many goals he's going to score by the end of the season, and he's trying to economise them appropriately.
Essentially. Potentially. Yeah, it was just a bit nervy. There was nothing really going on. There was a lot of break-up in play. Ipswich were probably dominating, but their attack was just completely toothless every time either of their forwards got the ball. I think it was the number 15 at one point, a pass was floated into him and his head had already gone down before it even reached him. And I thought, mate, come on. You could do something here. We're not that good. But fortunately, he wasn't listening to me. It got to about 65 minutes and the tension was getting a bit strange, wasn't it? It was a bit unwelcome in the away end. So fortunately, a fight broke out, which gave us some welcome respite.
A really good one, though.
It was huge. I've never seen anything quite like that before.
Can you break that down a
what
bit?
caused
Yeah,
it?
it would be nice to hear.
We want some detail. Come on.
It was hard to say. Everything seemed fine, and then all of a sudden, someone was pulling the steward's hair. There was some punching. Someone seemed to be caught in an arm lock, and then freed, and then there was cascading down the stairs, and everyone was getting very excited.
Because there's normally just one flash point, but they pulled someone out of the ground, and then they were like, right, we've got the troublemaker here. And all the other troublemakers are like, no, you haven't. There's loads more of us. So as they were dragging him out, like 3 more separate flashpoints come up. And you look at the stewards and you're like, you poor guys. You're probably on like £10 an hour and you're trying to like restrain like drunken monsters from like tearing each other's limbs off. You're like, I remember going to Rotherham away and there was that like stampede to get into the ground. Because like that's what we do. Apparently we just stampede our way through grounds. And I remember chatting to the steward and he just looked so soz and he just turned to me and was like, don't get paid enough for this, mate. And I was like, I bet you don't, mate. This looks rubbish.
Yeah, and it all sort of simmered down eventually, which was disappointing because then we had to watch the match again. And nothing much more had seemed to have happened. There was odd... beautiful bits of with a few triangles that we were playing, and there was some nice link-up play. I thought Walsh was fairly consistent throughout the second half. Dabo at one point was in a striker's position, and I wasn't entirely comfortable with it, but I felt much more solid than I would had, say, Ryan Haynes been in the same slotting in behind the front two. And I think, you were talking about earlier, Laurie, about Hyman Rose not having a brilliant game. I thought McFadzean dealt with any mess that they created. Yeah. They weren't bad, but his tactical nous actually really stood out, I thought, on Saturday, and I was pleased that he was there. He seemed to do a similar thing in the Sunderland game as well. I think you're right in that he's really stepped up the past couple of games because he looked like he got a serious mistake in him pretty much every half, but he seems to have knocked that out of him. And he was quite a steadying influence, I thought. We talked about McCallum and Giles earlier. I thought, he really tired towards the end, so might have been worth doing something about that. And then that was Robin starting to bring the subs on. And I thought 3, well, they're not necessarily odd subs, but I don't think they did anything to bring the energy up.
Yeah.
We didn't look like we were going to... struggle against them. They didn't look like they were going to score, but we could have done with more energy. They looked pretty tired. I'm not sure why, but bringing back a Yoko on ahead of Biamu was interesting.
They felt to me like the subs that you would make if you were 4-0 up.
Yes.
Just totally inconsequential. Just be like, right, let's just give these lads a run out. Like we're only 1-0 up, and these aren't. I know they're in bad form, but they did look like they could have snaffled something up at some point. I agree with you. I couldn't believe it when Bakayoko, and as well, I felt like when Godden came off, there was an element of him that was like, really, why?
I mean, he seemed to take all 3 off because he wanted to run the minutes down, and it did work to disrupt the game because it was pretty stop-start after the 3rd substitution, which definitely worked in our favour. But I really couldn't fathom his thought process with that. I thought O'Hare was actually playing much better. He has had a tendency for me in the past maybe 5-6 games to have a bit of the Madisons about him, but not in a good way. He'll throw himself to the ground too easily or get himself run himself into a space where he's not creating anything, and the only thing he can do is go down, and it's not really bringing us anything. But I thought he looked much sturdier on Saturday. He was holding the play up better. He was linking up better with Godden. So I don't know. I was puzzled by that. I don't know what the rest of you thought about it.
Bakayoko was just so bad when he came on as well. Just even for him, it was just, there was a point where he was defending near McCallum when they were kind of throwing everything at us, and I was like, I genuinely rather you were just at the other end of the pitch.
Yeah.
Just even if they were doubling up on McCallum, just get Bakayoko out of there. I do not trust you for 1 second defending in the 89th minute outside our penalty box.
As well, you are meant to be our focal point to hold the ball up so that we've got like an outlet from the relentless attacking wave. Not get you serve no purpose back. This is the opposite of where you're meant to be. He got at least one obligatory terrible offside call towards the end as well, didn't he? Which was it's good to see that he's playing for the fans. Say again.
Was that when he went round the keeper?
That was
he was
offside
offside for that, wasn't he?
Yeah, there was that. There was I thought the second worst one. There was one where he got caught either through the centre or slightly.
Was he miles off then? Because I couldn't see.
He was off. Yeah.
Everyone in the away end was incandescent with those.
He was. This is the thing though, is it's balance of probability, isn't it? Even if you're in the away end and you've got a poor view, is what it is. You just be like, oh, there's no way Backy. Well,
he's got a score for that reason.
Yeah. But again, you're right. As I thought he was pretty poor. Yeah.
Yeah, but fortunately, Lambert had zero ideas, and the game kind of petered out after that. I couldn't tell you what happened in the final 3 minutes. I was just staring at the referee, willing him to end the torture. And then as soon as it was over, I felt entirely confident that we were going to win it all the way through the game. And what a lovely day out we'd had. And obviously we're going to win the league probably next week. But it was nice. It was nice to see the players coming over to the crowd. I buy into that stuff so easily. All I need is for them to clap and put the flames emoji on Twitter afterwards, and I'm theirs. It's just so lovely to see it. And there seems to be a unity that we probably haven't seen since, 2 seasons ago. I feel like
short memory.
Yeah. It's quite pleasant to see it, to feel like you're part of the promotion run.
The hype
it's
train.
Nice. Yeah. Although Morosi looked like he was limping quite badly at the end. I'm not sure if he had some kind of collision. Did you see anything, Lawrence?
I didn't see him do anything, but I was just like, there were so many high balls launched down towards him at the end in the final 5 minutes. Maybe someone gave, because they brought on a rugby union player at the end. It was like,
I forgot about
they were
him.
getting really desperate.
Yeah.
I'm
Did you
sorry,
see him?
what?
Tyrese he switched codes, but not from league to union, from union to a different sport.
God, imagine being that good at things you can just choose your sport like that.
Well,
I'm going to do football today.
But,
Big though.
But he was large.
Big.
Get their attention. You can see him.
It does somewhat go to disprove my theory all the time that sometimes if you were, especially when we were in League Two, is I always just thought, bearing in mind how clearly slow everyone was, is I always just get set at poor. Why don't we just go and get a fast lad? Or even just go and get like a big lad? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so I thought, really, at League Two is you can probably just get away with being fast or big, but that perhaps not. If that guy was actually legitimately good at another sport and he was big and presumably fast, but then didn't do good at football, maybe that entire experiment has gone completely by the wayside, which is a shame, really, because I thought I'd fixed football.
I thought you were onto something, yeah. That's a shame.
Like when we
on
signed...
that same note, do we have? Am I forgetting anyone apart from Dabo? But are we going to go up with the slowest team in League One history?
I hadn't thought about that, but you were probably right. McCallum is nippy, isn't he? If not fast.
It's all offset by Godden, though, isn't it? Who is being very slow.
How is he getting away with?
McFadzean, not exactly swift. Yeah, Kelly. Yeah, you're right. The championship is going to be fun.
Kelly runs like he's got blisters and kind of like a doddering old lady. O'Hare, I just kind of in my head, I think might be quick just because he's trendy, but that's probably not true.
He's a bit nippy, to be fair. He's quite good.
I heard somebody talking about that Jude Bellingham, who's the kid that's at Birmingham. I heard them saying that he may well, in fact, be better suited to the Premier League because you're likely to get kind of half a second more on the ball where you're not having players constantly careening at you. I do like the idea of us going up next season and everyone being like, "Whoa, guys, calm down. This is no. We're going to have to slow this right down, guys. Seriously." We're no. But you're right. It hadn't occurred to me before, actually. That's just how good we are, though, isn't it? We don't need to do fast runs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I would say? I would say if I was them, we're making the ball work for us.
Famous quicker than any player.
Exactly, yeah. Right, that's everything, isn't it, I think, Ipswich-wise?
Yeah.
That's really good.
I think so, yeah.
Thank you both, guys. Right, I'm going to stop this malarkey, pipe a bit of Dominic Samuel, as I still like to call him in my head, in to do the preview, and then we'll come back and possibly do some listener questions, which we've neglected for a little while, haven't we? So here's Dom. Hi, Dom. Thanks for joining us.
It's good to be on, as always.
Shrewsbury, what can we expect?
Yeah, so 16th in the table with no threat of relegation. So this is sort of, in theory, the kind of game you want right now. Although Shrewsbury are sort of kind of capricious side almost. They sort of seem to turn things on and off with not much reason to them, although they do seem to have a habit of taking points off the bigger teams. Most notably, obviously, taking Liverpool, a fairly strong Liverpool side, to a cut replay before going out to their kids, which kind of really sums up the kind of team Shrewsbury are. They are the last team to have beaten us, which I was in attendance of just before Christmas on a cold day where we took the lead, and they sort of just slowly dragged themselves back in the game and then hit us later on counter-attack. Quite a frustrating game. Since then, in their next 15 games, they've won 3 of those, and Sam Ricketts, their manager, our former captain, has been under an increasing amount of pressure, mainly because his tactics are incredibly defensive, and in response to that recently, he switched to 3 in attack, taking out one of his centre-backs to go 4 at the back, which almost saw them beat Oxford on Saturday. Went 2-0 up, and then straight from the kick-off after scoring the second goal, they got a player who picked up a second yellow card, and they went on to lose to a late set-piece goal. So that front 3 they've now established, which is made up of Jason Cummings, Daniel Udo and Callum Lang, which is particularly interesting because they are 3 out-and-out strikers. Not really players who spent a lot of time in their career playing out wide. So you've got Cummins, who I think came into the footballing consciousness quite recently with the goals he scored against Liverpool and that little celebration he does with the smiling face tattoo on his hand, and for being a character, should we say. So I think he is someone who's probably a championship sort of quality striker in terms of sort of the technical side to his game, but I think he's sort of had a hard time sort of building up any momentum anywhere, just because sort of, I don't know, perhaps his sort of attitude off the pitch sort of doesn't quite match up with what managers would expect. And this season, playing in a Shrewsbury side that quite defensive, he's not getting too many chances. So what I would say, he's very good at closing players down, very energetic player. So he's someone I'd be particularly wary of. Then you've got Callum Lang, who I've had my eye on over the past couple of years. He's had loans at Morecambe and Oldham in League Two, scoring a fair few goals there. So this year was sort of next step up, and he's had injury issues this season, but he scored a very good goal on Saturday where he just completely rolled a defender and put in a very sweet strike. So he's good technically and knows where the goal is. And then Udo, who was signed from non-league over the summer and is just getting that momentum. He's absolutely rapid and maybe not the most well-rounded technically, but he's gotten a few goals recently just from Shrewsbury being little bit more attack-minded. And given that this could be a game where we might see a lot of the ball and Shrewsbury will try and hit us on the counter, he's someone you would be looking out for who could cause us a few problems. We've also sort of got in reserve of that Sean Wally and Conor McElhaney, who Wally's someone who just beats players for fun, basically. Quite a late bloomer in his career, but someone who's become increasingly reliable in what he does, and usually the impact's up there for Shrewsbury. In midfield, Josh Laron is someone to look out for. He's quite a big player, which you couldn't mistake him for sort of being a sort of holding midfield type play. That's not his game. He can take players on, can carry the ball forward, can chip in with the odd goal. And then at the back, they have had that defensive solidity. It does seem to have been sacrificed recently from going a bit more attacking. Ricketts has tried to basically play 4 centre-backs across the back 4, which doesn't always sort of make a team as defensive, just because if you're just playing defenders and attackers in the same team, you sort of lose that sort of balance and team shape that can help you defend. But it's a very powerful backline, just sort of big players. Ethan Lee Banks, Landell and Aaron Pierre in the centre, and Sean Williams, Omar Beckles playing as the fullbacks because they're slightly more mobile of the centre-back options. It sort of also gives Shrewsbury quite a big threat from set pieces. So yeah, could be a tricky game if we don't score early. But yeah, sort of one of a few games we have coming up over the next couple of weeks where you would expect us to win, but we might have to be a little bit more patient and try and really work on creating more chances and breaking down an opposition's defence, which is quite different to the games we've had in the weeks prior.
I wanted to ask you about, back to Cov matters. What do you see when you look ahead to the fixtures and whatever else we've got left? We've joked for weeks now about kind of we're going up, it's absolute certainty. But after a Saturday, like, we have to be taking this like we really, really could and should go up. What do you think could stop us?
I think the one thing right now, which I'm a little concerned of, is what happens if we play like we have been recently and Matt Godden doesn't take that one big chance. Who else has been stepping up? It's not even like who else has been stepping up with goal taking. It's who's been having chances. There just hasn't been much creativity recently. I don't know whether that's because in the past 2 games we scored early and haven't needed to do much. But I do want to see us sort of return to the kind of more controlled performances where we were creating more chances sort of a couple of months ago. But yeah, I think my big fear at the moment is that maybe we could have a few games where we just don't score, and maybe it leads to draws, or maybe that an opponent nicks it. So yeah, I want to see us turn on the attacking tap now.
Lovely stuff. Thanks very much, Dom. There we go. Thank you very much, Dom. Right, okay, listener questions. I am going to have a look now to see... Imogen, you got Jojo's Dojo saying new person klaxon, and then he put a GIF of 2 sitcom characters saying whoop whoop. Not a question so much, but hopefully that will make you feel more at home here.
I feel very well.
And then, Steve CJ asks, Neil... whatever happened to Charlie Wakefield, and is there a room at Brighton full of wingers?
I don't want to answer this too seriously, but the problem with Charlie Wakefield is that he wasn't very good at football, so he wasn't able to play for us on account of that. Now, that seems very harsh on someone as a person, but unfortunately, that's just the case.
He refused to sneeze into his elbow, so he's been put in a cupboard somewhere.
Didn't he?
But also, if people are sneezing at elbows, why are we touching elbows? Keep elbows away from me now.
Bloody
Like, I
good
don't
point.
understand. Yeah,
Didn't he do bad injury as well at some point?
he did. To be fair, he had a little bit of a bad one. But even when he was playing, he just kept tripping on the ball all the time. Which, I mean, I don't have many rules when it comes to football, but that's one where I kind of say, nah, don't do that.
He's another one that disproved my theory about getting a player who can do big fast, because that was his big what's that thing? KPI? No, UPI.
Oh,
unique selling point.
yeah.
USP.
Yeah, USP. Yeah.
Wasn't
Yeah,
he just like AD Vivish's like old foster son or something? I thought that was it.
But
It was just fast when he was 10 or something.
yeah, I think isn't Dabo along the same lines? That is a quite. I mean, I know that everyone. We're going to talk about Adi Vivish, Adi Vivash, Adri Vivrish in a second, because there's about 100 questions coming in about him. But that is, even on its own, I don't know how many of you play Football Manager, but the kind of, sometimes it's important just to get like staff members or whatever who specialise in one specific thing, because it's so valuable. And if one of those is valuable to us, is Vivash's knowledge of like excellent Chelsea youngsters who are never going to play for Chelsea.
Yeah.
It's probably quite good, isn't it? Because I guess there's a list of transfer targets that's kind of the entire scouting department, and then Vivash being like, he'll never get in, but he'll be fine here. Right, so
Dab's Chelsea guy.
You what?
Dabo was the Chelsea one.
Yeah, he was part of the never-ending Dutch. I think he was at Vitesse Arnhem for a season or two, and he was like that guy. And then they released him, and he came to us. Right, Imogen. Had we kept Chaplin, not signed Godden, who would have scored more goals? What impact would there have been on the team?
Wow.
That's a real question.
Thanks for that, Jerry. Well, I know that Chaplin has been scoring the odd goal for Barnsley, but Gordon's made such a habit of it now. It seems like we've known no different. I can't see that Chaplin would have worked as well in the current setup, but I don't think he seemed to run around a lot and not really cause anything dramatic, whereas Godden does exactly the opposite. So I'm Team Matty, I think.
I do like what was like.
I do like these questions though. Oh, go on. I'm interrupting.
No. Sorry, Neil. You carry on.
No, I was just going to be facetious, and it's kind of withered now. So carry on.
Laurie, if we go up, which of the following two players are we more likely to sign? I like the fact that this has been posted as a list, even though it's only two players. Which of the following two players are we more likely to sign? O'Hare or Walsh? And out of those two players, who would we miss the most if we got promoted?
I reckon because Villa are probably going to come down, the likelihood is that O'Hare will actually be relevant to them. Whereas Bristol City, I am from Bristol, and so I have quite close links to the club. I think they're going to flop it in the playoffs, or maybe not even make the playoffs, but they still won't need Liam Walsh next year.
Are they that good, really?
I'm sorry?
Are they that good, really, that he wouldn't then... He's really good, isn't he, Walsh?
He's really good, but I think you're forgetting quite how many good players there are in the Championship and quite how much we're going to get.
Yeah.
You've seen... I know we obviously smashed Luton out of the park last season, but have you seen what's happened to them this year? The dismembering.
Well, all three of the League One promotees are...
Yeah, someone tweeted that this week, being like, just tweeted the bottom three and were like, let's worry about that next season. That is going to be a bloodbath, but obviously let's not think about that at all. No, so I think Walsh is a definite option, but in all likelihood, we'll hate Walsh this time next season. He will have got us relegated. So think about that.
I don't want to think about it. Can we just be happy?
Yeah, I'm happy at the moment.
Okay.
Answer any stupid question.
I think O'Hare is an interesting one because I think O'Hare is a uniquely suited player to what we're doing, in that I still don't really rate him on the ball, but I think he is so brilliant for us in terms of what he does in his pressing. I'm not sure there's many players in League One who have got the sort of forward players that have got neither the ability nor the intelligence to press in the way that he does. He just looks like an absolute nightmare to play against. And
I love the way he does it as well. He has this habit of just coming up behind people and they can't hear him. So he's like a ghost. He's just suddenly just on your back, and you're like, where the fuck did he come from? And he's always doing it.
We might have talked about this before, and I'm not doing that thing where I'm comparing him to world-class players and saying they're the same. I'm just talking about the way that he plays. But still, my favourite team of all time, tactically speaking, is that 2008 Man United team that had got Ronaldo up front, but crucially, they'd got Tevez and Rooney next to him, like he'd got two pit bulls on a lead either side. And then the reason they were so intriguing was because that whilst teams were sort of formatively trying to work out how to play tiki-taka, Man United had got this team that were like, let's just deliberately set out to pick up on as many mistakes as people can make while they're trying to pass it out. And those two were just, like you say, just snapping at heels all the time. Just defenders who weren't used to having tackles come at them from strikers from behind, who were like, what the fuck is going on here? And O'Hare's like that, isn't he? Is that every time that like a defensive midfielder picks up a pass from a centre-back, he's just on them like a fucking tramp on chips. And then then people are just like, what the hell is going on here? But that I don't think there are, bearing in mind how sort of superfluous pressing is at the highest level, I don't think there's attacking players who are quite so adept at it as O'Hare. And I suppose it's indicative of the fact that he's used to playing at a high, or certainly training at a club that's got higher level sort of ambitions or whatever. But I don't know where. I would like to think that what would happen is that we would keep with this formation for next season. But I think that Walsh, as amazing as he is arguably replaceable. I wonder how replaceable O'Hare is as a proposition, because I really enjoy watching him because he just seems like an absolute nuisance.
You know how people complain about swearing? Do you reckon someone's going to complain about tramp on chips?
Tramp on chips isn't great, is it, either?
It came so naturally to you as well.
Do you know what? I don't think it did really. I did contemplate pulling out of it, but I was a little bit too far gone. I thought, was there something that I could go for? I could have said white on rice, couldn't I? I might edit myself back through there saying that. I probably won't. Neil, if we win the league by playing the final games behind closed doors due to COVID-19, will it be the most Cov thing ever?
It's called Cov as well.
Is it? Yeah. Well, I would. I've advocated us playing behind closed doors for many years now, anyway. So, I mean, this is my dream. So let's make it happen, people. Come on, powers that be.
If Cov play behind closed doors, we're just going
to go and sit outside the stadium, aren't we?
Oh no, not those big groups of people milling about the stadium. That sounds bloody awful.
No, we'll stand apart, 2 feet apart. We'll be fine.
By the way, I apologise. I've not read out everyone's names, but you know who you are. Liam Murphy.
That's not why they do it, Joey. They do it for the accolades.
Who have I missed there? So Steve CJ I read out. Thomas Murden asked a question about O'Hare or Walsh. Someone called Ayokua Moana asked about O'Hare and Walsh. There you go. Feel adequately placated now. Actually, Alex Hudson asks, with the concept shirts for next season already popping up on Twitter, which shirts do you think Hummel should remake for next season? Let's have one from each of you, please. Starting with Neil. I'm saying this slowly to give you some thinking time.
Well, I'd like them to do the yellow one again because it's not had enough love this season. So yellow again.
Somebody tweeted that this week and said that's the only tragedy of this season is that this yellow shirt.
Accurate. How beautiful is it? You've got that shirt, haven't you?
I have, yeah, and I also, and
it's
I
a work
think,
of art, baby.
Yeah, I had a few drinks the other night, and then I noticed that I was wearing it, and I was looking at myself in the mirror and just thinking, God, this really is a really special. I mean, the other two are fantastic, aren't they? But the yellow one especially has got a certain charm to it that is undeniable. Yep. You're saying give the yellow one a second run out.
I'm saying let's rehash that, and by that I mean just keep the same one because I've already got it, and play it again next year, please. That's our home shirt.
Laurie, what would you like to see done up?
I was actually on the Ipswich forum this week, and they were calling the two-tone shirt a work of art. Apropos of nothing. So yeah, it's not just us who think this now. I've only seen the concept one for the 92 shirt that I have, the Mickey Quinn one. So I'm not really sure how I feel about that. It's vastly inferior to the original, but maybe that because I just love the pattern on that one.
That is beautiful, isn't it, Imogen?
I think I would go for, and this is predominantly because my memory has been jogged by seeing someone wearing it on Saturday. The Dublin Huckabee Whelan era, the dark blue and the mid blue stripe with the massive crest on the all over it.
Yeah.
And it's got sky blues written across the bum. It's absolutely delicious. I'd go for that.
Yeah, that is top class.
Massive sleeves as well, aren't they? Have you seen how long that? Back then, nobody ever grew into that shirt. There was no chance of that happening.
On that note, though, so Imogen's reminded of that by she saw someone wearing that shirt. I was watching an Ipswich fan vlog, which I know you love, Jamie. Jamie. I know you love Joey.
Yeah.
And he's filming Cov fans queuing up to go into the ground. He films us, and then he films these wrong'uns behind us who had 19 pints down, and this guy wearing the Dublin shirt. And the guy in the Dublin shirt just points at the guy filming and goes, "You're so fat." And then the guy making the vlog freezes the camera and just does a little voiceover saying, "This man in a work of karma was not allowed into the stadium."
Yes. We were linked to this.
He did not get in. He was so pissed.
That's exceptional. Yeah, if you could share that, that would be fantastic because that feels like something I would really like to see.
Yeah, but then, all right.
No, go on.
Then everyone know what I look like. I don't want that.
Oh, bitch, please. No one cares what you look like.
Joey, on this podcast, you said I've got a voice that makes you want to punch me. So do I really want to put a face to that voice?
Oh, God, if only people could see the face as well. You could probably conjure up a face so punchable, but when they actually saw it, oh, man. The funny thing with that about the of all of the shirt remakes that we've had is that blue and dark blue block stripes hasn't ever really come back since the 90s, has it? It is probably long overdue. It's a really, really good shout. I would say
the Joachim one a bit. Remember that? Joachim
all blue,
all dark blue
with thin stripey, weren't it?
With a Susie on it.
Yeah, maybe. I would like to see the 87 kit remade. And then, which of the current players would you expect to see start for us next season if we get promoted to the Championship? We'll round things off with, that's Mark Egan with that. Neil, do you want to start us off?
I think we'll keep the keeper. I think Walsh and Hyam. I also believe that Dabo will be playing. Other than that, not sure.
Really? No Rose?
Who did I say? Walsh. I meant Rose.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think Rob will keep Walsh.
Anyone with any advances or any disagreement on that?
No, I think that's...
I really want Liam Kelly to be our Andy King.
To go all the way up through the divisions, yep.
All the way, baby. All the way to the Champions League.
Seems likely, yeah.
I think we were with you up until that point. I think it was.
I'm with you all the way, mate. Yeah. Let's do this.
Remember this day when Liam Kelly makes his Champions League bow at 39. We lose 19-0 to FC Lodz.
Yeah. Red Bull Madrid beating us like. Yeah. Okay. Right. I think that's all the questions. So, anybody got anything that they want to do or plug or say before we wrap things up?
Just
No.
my match report, which you never let me plug anymore, so I'm just going to plug it now for old time's sake.
Right. Anyway, thanks, Laurie. So, no, go on. Where is it?
The lonelyseason.club.
Lovely stuff. Right. Okay. Imogen, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
Neil, thank you.
Thanks.
Laurie, thank you.
Cheers, mate. You said thank you this week.
Don't make me retract it. And thank you, listener. Bye.